please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
That's the market opening, 27 points higher, 28 higher on the Nifty, 10,740 now, 10,742. Let's see if it makes that move towards the 10,750 mark that Prakash was referring to. 10,745, 10,748. So it's headed there. It's at 10,750 now. Let's see if it sustains here. The top gainers are from the pharma pack. Cipla is up 2%. Lupin is up 1.5%. Then you have Bharti, Airtel, Vedanta, M&M. Among bigger stocks, Axis is opening higher, 1% higher on Axis. Mahindra & Mahindra is, as I said, Reliance after yesterday's minor decline is up about 3/4 of 1%. Dr. Reddy's is up 0.5%. GAIL was one of the big gainers yesterday, so that's added some more, 2/3 of 1%. Maruti seems to be finding its mojo back, so that one's up about 0.5%. Really, the stock of the morning is Cipla, up about 3% in market opening, and that's the Nifty for you now. 10,752 is what we have. It's a decent move actually, considering the kind of move yesterday that we had. It's almost taken off about 2/3 of yesterday's decline. In terms of stocks losing ground today, not too many. UltraTech Cement is down about 0.5%. Grid is down about 0.5%. But at least the morning belongs to the bulls. 10,750 is here, and it's a combination of pharma, metals, and a couple of banks, along with Reliance, which is for now helping the markets.
Yes, in fact, it's a really good opening for the mid-caps as well. Given all the volatility we've seen the last few days, this 0.5% up move on the mid-cap index would be taken with both hands. The market breadth is positive, almost 600 stocks on the advancing side. And once again, it's the pharmaceutical stocks, even in the broader markets, that are doing quite well. So Stride, Shasun, Cadila Health, these are the kind of stocks that are gaining momentum both on the price and the volume charts. Another pocket that's doing well this morning is real estate. So I did see names like Prestige Estates, Brigade Enterprises, etc. do well. Keep an eye out on that. Some of these beaten down names, Vakrangee is up about 4.5%. I mean, hardly beaten down. Now this month, Vakrangee has gained 45%. Alok Industries, tad bit up move over there. Just Dial is up almost about 2% or so. Even something like an Opto Circuits is up about 4.5 to 5%. But keep an eye out on some of these banks, the smaller banks, Andhra Bank, South Indian Bank, Canara Bank, IDBI Bank, all of them are in the green this morning, Bank of India as well. So there is a trading pop that you are seeing in a couple of these pockets, whether it's pharma, some of these PSU banks, etc. That's looking good. On the downside, it is the sugar stocks. Bajaj Hindusthan is down and out. You have a CG Power that's once again falling. India Cements is in the red. Ruchi Soya is down, JP Associates as well. But largely, you'd have to say it is a positive start to trade. So,
oh yeah, absolutely. Lots of mid-caps actually now in up and about in green. GM Breweries is about 3% up. Bhansali Engineering is about 4% on the higher side. There's some buying on VIP clothing that's coming in. So it's across the board really. As of now, Kansai Nerolac is a sort of small little acquisition that they did. So that's a stock on the up move as well. Mishra Dhatu is finding some takers today. By the way, just on a side news note, Wheels India is considering a bonus. That stock's very excited. 7% up. I think it's a 52-week high for that stock. Yes, it is. So these are some of the names on the upside that immediately catch the eye. And Anuj, for the market as well, I mean, as of now, I guess it's trying to find its feet around that 10,750 mark. Yeah,
it is. But, there are two things. One, again, Bajaj Finance has opened with a gap up. So that is interesting. That's a new high. And I think this PSU banks, that meeting which was supposed to happen, I think is not happening. And, look at the SBI chart intraday right now. That one straight away has opened well in the red. So that is the one which I saw. That's SBI stock. That's been making fresh lows over the last 3 or 4 days. So there's some problem right now that you're seeing in PSU banks. Let's take some thoughts then from our experts. Mitesh, 10,750 is where we have the Nifty opening, 26,340 on the Bank Nifty.
Yeah, so Anuj, I think 10,700 is holding out for the time being. I don't expect much of a movement. I think if the supports hold on the downside, we might just get into a choppy range. I think Prakash was highlighting 10,823. I have a level of 10,820. So it'll just be a 120 point kind of range between 10,700 to about 10,820. And on the stock specific side, I think one stock which comes to my mind immediately on the short side is UPL, which is continuing yesterday's decline. While for buying, I think as you've highlighted, the pharma names look very interesting, and both Aurobindo Pharma and Ajanta Pharma offer good trading opportunities.
Okay, so the news that Anshu is sending us is that a standing committee on energy to discuss the impact of RBI guidelines on PAR NPAs has been postponed. don't know the date. So that I think could be the reason you've seen this PSU banks falling a bit.
Okay, in fact, we will try and get more details on that from our colleague Anshu in a bit. But for now, the stock that's really gathering everyone's attention is Cipla. It's up almost about 3% or so. On another day, I guess this approval for this drug, $100 million drug to treat AIDS, would not have got such a big response. But in general, approvals are picking up for the sector as a whole. So I guess that's why you're getting such a positive response there. But let's thank our guests for joining us. Sudarshan, I just wanted quick thoughts before we end the discussion from your end. Pharma, do you think there's still more money to be made here, especially in names like Cipla, etc.?
Sonia, it's just beginning. In 3 years, pharma will double itself. This is the time when you want to go into pharma and buy whatever you can lay your hands on. I mean, good quality, but please buy.
Okay, buy pharma stocks. Mitesh, last thoughts from you for the morning. Any interesting stock idea?
Yeah, I think apart from what I discussed, I think a Tata Chemical is looking interesting on the charts. I was just looking at the stock price. I think it's not breaking below 717 for last many weeks, and now I think the chart structure is slightly negative. So if that breakdown happens, could be a sell trade. And on the long side, I think I'll agree with Sudarshan. I think traders, investors should all significantly bet some kind of money on the pharma stocks. I think not only in short term but in the medium term also the charts look very, very promising.
All right, gentlemen, thanks a lot for taking us through market opening. It's sustaining for now the uptake, and really, as Sonia pointed out, Cipla is your stock of the morning, 3% higher on that. Let's invite our market master for the day then. Vibhav Kapoor of Island FS is with us in our studios. Vibhav, good morning. Thanks a lot for taking time out and dropping into our studios. So,
thank you.
You reckon this is a market where you would want to buy now? All through second half of last year, you were very cautious. It's now seen a price correction and time correction. Of course, in the broader market, even more.
So we've been of the view that the index will basically sustain between 10,000 and 11,000 on a broad range, and that's what's been happening for the past few months. I think the market is still, or the circumstances are still not positive enough for a breakout on the upside. And there has been a lot of divergence between the index and the rest of the market, actually, you see. So, the index has really outperformed the rest of the market in the last few months. And that's, primarily because a lot of domestic money has been moving into large cap stocks now. But the global situation, I think, has worsened from what it was in terms of emerging markets beginning to suffer, the dollar going up, yields going up, and now, of course, you have this tariff trade war which is happening. So I think best case, I think we would say the market should still remain between 10 and 11,000 for some more time to come.
Okay.
So we remain within those broad goalposts, I suppose, Vibhav. Now, within this period, there's obviously been an interesting churn. IT has been the big sort of money spinner over the last 9-10 months, and now you saw the interest in pharma. You just heard some of our technical experts. I mean, those are, of course, shorter-term ideas, but they seem to be suggesting even a longer-term bottom, of course, is in place. How are you looking at pharma? How are you going about dissecting the sector, which companies to pick? Or is it really a tide that's going to lift all boats, so it doesn't matter which one you're in?
So I think these two sectors are really great contrarian buys. We have been positive on the technology for quite some time now, and it's really performed pretty well over the last few months. And I think pharma is just beginning to really bottom out. And I concur with the technical analysts that probably, things are going to really improve for the pharma sector going forward. So on a fundamental perspective, I think while the generic price pressure is still there, but it is definitely reducing. So you are probably reaching bottom there. The pipeline, companies which have good pipeline for particularly specialty products, I think will start to do much better now. The Indian market also is beginning to recover a bit, and growth is there, 10 to 15%. And of course, the rupee depreciation is definitely going to be icing on the cake. And there, I think, these two sectors particularly are great contrarian sectors from the rupee point of view also, because going forward, if the dollar continues to appreciate, if yields continue to go up, and, you have some adverse, let's say, election results later on over a year, and if the rupee crosses 69, I think, technically you could have the rupee really going depreciating in a big way at some point. So that risk is there, which definitely will be very, very positive for these two sectors.
Okay, by the way, the market is in fine fettle right now. I mean, it's steady, both on the frontliners as well as on the mid-cap index. And now, apart from pharma, there are other stocks picking up. M&M is at the high point, up almost about 2%. So is Bajaj Auto, by the way. And Infosys has resumed its uptrend as well. Just look at those charts, all at the high point. Vibhav, hi, good morning. You know, it's been so interesting, right, this year so far. The leaders have completely changed, as you all were discussing. I mean, IT, pharma, etc. Any other sectors where you spot value?
So the private sector banks and select NBFCs, I think, will continue to do well, and the consumption theme will continue to do well, particularly if the monsoons are normal. You know, FMCG, particularly based on the rural markets, will do well. So as far as the rest of the market outside pharma and IT is concerned, I think you're going to have a continuation of the same old sectors. You know, because, for example, as far as the banking sector is concerned, I still don't see the public sector banks doing something great. You may have some rallies here and there, but the fundamental picture is just not changing there. And therefore, the private sector banks will continue to gain market share. And while they may look expensive, sorry, from time to time, and they'll have consolidations, but overall the trend definitely should be up.
Okay, by the way, two stocks are coming on my radar. One is Just Dial. It was out of F&O ban, and I think the first trade on that has been on the upside. Just see the chart of Just Dial. That's up almost about 3% now. And for last 2 days, JP Associates has been interesting because every day it's been opening lower, but intraday there's been quite a bit of buying that is visible on JP Associates. And as we speak, it opened at 1625. But has made a move towards 1660. So these two stocks really stand out at this point in time. Vibhav, so what are the key risks for the market this year? How big is politics going to be a risk? Yesterday we had the BJP pulling out of that government in Kashmir. A lot of people believe that perhaps that's the first indicator that we may have slightly earlier general election as well, perhaps at the end of this year.
So I think the immediate risks are more global. Which is basically, as I said, the dollar, the US yields, money going away. Emerging markets actually have not been doing well at all, particularly in dollar terms. And I think the Indian index has been outperforming, maybe not the rest of the market, so it could catch up. And then, of course, you have the trade war. So these the global risks, I think, are very great at this point of time. Over the next 12 months, obviously, you will have the political risk because you have the state elections in December and then you have the general elections in May. Now, you know, I'm not a political expert, so it's difficult to say, but I mean, definitely that risk is there. There's no doubt about that. And as that time approaches, I think the market will start to factor in that risk more and more as you go along. You know,
speaking of risks, one of the risks obviously is this massive tranche of stressed power assets that are still out there and what the government is planning to do. There was supposed to be a meeting of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Energy today to discuss the prospects and the impact of that Feb 12 circular that the RBI issued. I believe that meeting has been postponed. So let's get some more details from our colleague Anshu. Good morning, Anshu.
Good morning. That's right. That Standing Committee meeting on energy to specifically discuss the RBI circular which could have impact on the NPA of the power sector has been postponed to a later date. We understand from sources that the committee realized that it's better that the government resolves first the stand of the government on the Allahabad High Court order which came on June 2nd, which had stayed RBI circular of February 12, which had said that one-day default will lead to resolution of the NPAs. Also, to give you the background of the last meeting, which happened on June 12th, we understand that RBI governors had told the Standing Committee on Energy that how the scenario of the economy is, and there is some success being achieved by the banks on the stressed assets, and they said that RBI guidelines have helped contain NPA and lending has improved from the bank. But we understand that Standing Committee expressed that one-day default is arbitrary and banks won't refinance if assets are classified as NPA. So net-net, we understand that Banking Secretary will have to meet RBI along with Power Ministry officials and the sector experts to realize the government's stand on Allahabad High Court, and finally we need to understand whether that one-day default rule will exist or not. Back to you.
Okay, Anshu, thanks a lot for that. That's important. We'll be tracking that one closely. Vibhav, I wanted you to come in on a lot of these issues that the government has been tackling lately. For example, Piyush Goyal has been going all out to sort of, reduce the stressed power assets issues. Power as a space, have you taken any interest in it at all, or do you stay away?
Well, we haven't really taken much of an interest earlier, but I think probably, we are big at a stage where some improvement is going to start to take place. One is that, power consumption is starting to improve, so I think PLFs will start to improve. We've had very low PLFs earlier. Spot prices of power have started to go up significantly from what they were earlier. So I think gradually one would be turning a little positive on the power sector, but we obviously need to see how these government policies in terms of NPS, etc. play out. But on a pure supply-demand basis, I think the bottom is already there, and I think things will gradually improve from here.
Vibhav, just a word again, related sector, the lenders to a lot of these power companies. How would you look at playing sort of the whole space right now? A lot of people have been wanting to get into PSU banks, particularly big names like SBI. But the question is the worst of the stress over, or should you, simply stick to the tried and tested names? Also, two of the largest private sector banks perhaps might see a management transition. So how do you view these changes? So
as I said earlier, I think the public sector banks require a lot more than, a little bit of tinkering in NPAs, etc. Of course, that will help. And, you may get rallies here and there. But I think the basic texture of the PSU banks has to change in terms of management, in terms of decision-making process, in terms of the independence they have in doing things, etc. Unless that happens, I don't think you can have a call that the PSU banks are really going to be great long-term buys. And therefore, the private sector banks, as I said earlier, I think will continue to gain market share. And over, 3-5 year time frame, they will continue to outperform.
Okay, some of the stocks are looking interesting right now. V-Guard, just pull out that intraday chart on V-Guard. That is interesting. NIIT Tech is making highs of the morning already. So that one is also quite interesting. A couple of these names really caught my eye. Names like Volta, Symphony, the V-Guards of the world, they have corrected quite a bit, Vibhav. Anything that looks interesting here?
So, one needs to be stock specific there, obviously. But as I said, the general attitude I would favor would be to go for consumption, and particularly where consumption stocks, whether they are FMCG or consumer durables, etc., they have, if they have corrected significantly and valuations have become reasonable, I think I would go for favor those type of stocks. But there are other cases, for example, in the non-consumption sector, for example, cement is a really case in point where the market was so positive for so long, for maybe a year or 2 years, and valuations were absolutely ridiculous. But now the market has started to, sort of finally, I think, give way, and you've seen, things like ACC and Ambuja and a lot of others come down by 20, 30, 35%. But they're still expensive.
Okay, all right, Vibhav, we'll leave it at that. Thanks for joining us and taking us through your views. By the way, Bajaj Finance has hit a new high, so doing what it does best, defying gravity. And now just Bajaj Finance has hit a market cap of almost 1.5 lakh crores, 1.3 lakh crores to be precise. So higher highs for this group now. But let's talk about another group of stocks. The Motherson Sumi Group is in focus. Its Hungarian plant has commenced operations in this quarter. In fact, 3 new plants are likely to come on stream by FY20, and that will contribute 1 billion euros in incremental revenues between FY18 and FY20. Vivek Chand Sehgal, the chairman of the Motherson Sumi Group, joins us on the show now. Mr. Sehgal, good morning. Tell us a little bit about the greenfield expansion plans. How much will come on stream this year and next? There's one in Hungary as well.
Well, I think the 3 plants that are in question, which are the new greenfield sites, are very, very exciting for SMP because by 2019-20, they will add approximately $1 billion to the top line. And all these particular small ups and downs that we are seeing in the margins and in the ROS of SMP are probably going to be all wiped out, and we have a good 6-7 year bull run on these plants. The good news is that this seems to be the last plant for our order book of 17.2 billion, which we have to set up so that the startups of new plants and all that would not be there unless we have new orders, which we hope we do.
Okay, Mr. Sehgal, so for these new plants, will the initial costs be higher as they start up and stabilize? Is that the case? And then if that is, then what about margins?
Well, I don't see margin pressure because these particular things are all inbuilt into the system. But yes, whatever are the startup costs have already been written off in our profit and loss account. But we just give it as an indication to the investors and the analysts so that they understand that these are things which are not recurring. We are very happy not to give all these things and just give you the straight plain vanilla numbers. But I think it makes you understand that, car startup is not really one day and it's on and it's off or something like that. So we're not making something like cement or something. Every car, every color, every variation has to be tested out and has to be done so that the cars that you buy coming from our customers are top of the line. So it takes a bit of time to get the whole plant and everything done. But yeah, I think it's very exciting, and we don't hesitate to put up the greenfield plants because it allows us to show the customers what we mean when we talk about setting up a new plant to service them.
Okay, Mr. Sehgal, good morning. So how's the demand situation in Europe and where are you seeing a big pickup?
So we feel that there is no let at all. We are getting a lot of traction for demand from our customers. But I think what is important for you to understand is that Motherson growth story is not about a particular market going up or going down. One acquisition or two acquisitions and the whole percentages have no meaning. So for Motherson, yes, we have very strong demand coming up all over. But two, I think it's the acquisition that will make much more of a impact onto the top line. We are at the moment sitting at about 12.5, 13 billion. We've got to go to something like close to 18 billion for Motherson Sumi, and for the group we would go higher. So for us, acquisition is going to be the main driver of the whole this thing, and we've got a huge pipeline of acquisitions that are already there. It's just that we are negotiating, we are talking, we are understanding, and then what is right, what is fitting our scheme of things, only that acquisitions we will do. So it takes a bit of time, but yes, it makes a lot of sense to go this way.
All right, so when will the Hungarian plant come to full capacity? I mean, what kind of timelines are we looking at?
I think all these plants will come to full capacity around somewhere around 2018, end 2019, maybe the first quarter, maybe the second quarter. So I think the production of Daimler itself and our customers itself are also ramping up at the same time. I think you've read in the papers that a lot of our customers are spending a lot of money into Hungarian operations, and this plant is going to be servicing them 100%. So very exciting in the coming 8 months to 12 months.
Okay, Mr. Sehgal, all the best. Thanks so much for talking about your expansion plans, your capex plans more importantly. Here's a quick programming reminder. We have our special series Hunting for Value. Today we'll focus on a mid-cap energy company whose stock has lost 25% of its value in 2018. Is it a value pick or is it a trap? Stay tuned to catch all the details at 9:50 this morning.